Hi guys. Hi. Um I feel like I haven't done anything serious in a while. All right, so my name is Tolu Adeleru-Balogun. I'm a journalist here in Nigeria. I've done radio, I've done TV, I've even do some freelance writing, and today I've taken over EIE's live Instagram, and we're going to be having a conversation about COVID-19 and domestic violence. So I have two ladies who are going to be guests and joining me on this conversation today. I can see Big Sis, as I like to call her when I see her, Kate Henshaw. She's going to be my very first guest. And then right after that, I also have Titilola Vivour-Adeniyi. She's the coordinator for the Lagos State Domestic and Sexual Violence Response Team. So we're going to break down the conversation around COVID-19 and how it's affecting domestic violence, not just here in Nigeria. This is now really actually a very big global conversation. So let me get Kate Henshaw in. She's going to join us, my very first guest, join me for this conversation. Please, guys, don't forget, we will take questions, we'll take contributions as well. Hi.
Hi, how are you, sis?
I'm fine. I'm fine. If I tell you guys the story of how Kate Henshaw and myself met, along with Adenike and Nelly, it's a really good conversation. And since that time, she has not been able to get rid of me. So everywhere she sees me, I become a troublemaker. And I follow her
I'm
to the
taking
EIE's
you. I'm
handle.
taking you as family. Family.
So how are you? How is the lockdown treating you?
I'm tired. I won't lie. I'm really tired of being cooped up in the house. Hey, oh hey. Um, I'm tired, and the only thing that keeps me sane is my exercise. It just gets me in the right mood. I'm just bored. I need to just see what's out there and see my friends and just, I don't know, see how it is. I was telling someone that if they say go out, will I remember how to go out?
I was drawing eyebrow. I'm going to be very honest in this conversation. Do I remember how to draw my eyebrows? Do I
I
remember how
know.
to put
So you,
makeup
I
on?
haven't bothered. I haven't bothered. My skin has done so well. 5 weeks of no makeup. Hey, I've never really been heavy on makeup except I'm going out. So I'm okay to let my skin breathe. But I just need to like, whoosah, you know?
But have we now been in the house doing woo-woo-sa for almost 5 weeks now? And my big question now is, today is Monday. Lagos
Yes,
started the first 2 week stretch of lockdown Monday 11 p.m. So Monday 11
yes,
p.m. you should assume, quote unquote, it's over. And
yes.
right now it feels like there's really no fillers as to what the next step is going to be, either from the Lagos state government or from the federal
Oh,
government.
from
And so
federal
we don't
government.
know what comes next.
We're sitting ducks, really, just waiting to know what's next. And I just said to someone 2 days ago, this is how it feels to be in prison. You have all that freedom, but you don't have freedom, if you know what I mean. I'm tired
Yeah.
of going to the fridge. I don't eat so much. Yeah, I'm tired. I'm tired of going. You go to the fridge, you open it like,
You
nah,
open it
go
and you
back
don't even
home.
get anything. You just stand there and you're like, nah.
Yeah, and
Mm-mm.
you stand there like, oh, okay, next time you go upstairs, you read a book, you fall asleep, you watch the TV if you have electricity, and you're just listless. That's just it, you know?
Yeah. I know we all want to get out, but the numbers are not helping us. We're about 1,000 some to something now. So really it is direction that we're looking for, and also a conversation around the other things that have happened under the lockdown, that have happened under COVID-19. So let me reintroduce you properly, because we've been acting like family members. So if you're just joining us, and you don't know Kate Henshaw. Kate Henshaw is an award-winning actress here in Nigeria. She's doing something also now with Netflix as well. She's an activist. If you follow her on social media, some people call her senior prefect and senior auntie. But it's always a pleasure to talk to her, and she's gonna give it to us straight in this conversation. So, Kate, let's start with this COVID-19 and domestic violence. People might think, why do we need to have a separate conversation about domestic
Mm,
violence in lockdown, domestic violence during a
mhm.
pandemic? But reading up on the research from India to Brazil to the United Kingdom to the UK, domestic violence hotlines, people who deal with domestic violence victims are all reporting an
Look at
absolute
me.
rise in the number of people calling into the helpline and a number of people, in essence, basically seeking help from authorities. But
Yeah.
you've also been someone who's been very vocal about domestic violence and issues surrounding that. Would you want to tell us a bit about why that is?
Because I've been a victim of domestic violence in a past relationship, and I've taken part in a stage play in the past called The Vagina Monologues. It was by Eve Ensler, and we adapted it to the Nigerian situation because our situation is very peculiar, seeing that we're a very patriarchal nation. So it's always against women or seeing women as a competition. So in 2008, when I starred in the first Vagina Monologues, I came across a plethora of NGOs doing some stuff, and they had a flyer all over in the foyer. And I walked up to the desk and I thought, oh, what's this about? And I read about Project Alert, and I decided to approach them to see how I could offer myself to help. And that was my very first foray, into knowing that there were organizations who actually help, who actually prefer help, solutions, legal, medical, therapy for people who are going through domestic and sexual violence. I've worked with Project Alert since 2008. Also came to know about Mirable Center, and I also do some work with WAROF, which is Women at Risk Foundation. And then we did a show with Ebony some years ago, Funka Akindele, Rita, Uche Jumbo, and I on a series portraying, trying to highlight the things that go on in domestic violence. So that was my journey. So I have some information, if not a lot.
Yeah. All right. So you've talked about Project Alert already. So it's a question I have, but let me go ahead and bring it up. I saw that the founder and the executive director, Josephine Efachukuma, had asked for donations. And I think it was a bank here in Nigeria that's also looking for like COVID heroes. And in the end, I heard that you guys were able to raise about 2 million naira to assist women in Nigeria. How did the fundraising go? And what has the money been used for? Let's be a bit more specific.
She reached out to me. I'm always very, very ready to help Josephine. She's a woman of integrity. She's an Amazon. If I ever have any issue to do with violence or helping someone out there, I'd rather go through Project Alert because their papers are clean. She's above board. And so she reached out to me and said, okay, we're trying to raise some money. Would you put it on Facebook? And I said, oh, count me in. Anything Project Alert, count me in. And then she said, oh, would you like some other people to join? So I reached out to some of my friends on WhatsApp and also on Twitter. Yemi Alade saw something like that. I said, oh, see, sir, I didn't want to mention her name. Oh, can I help? Because really, for someone like me, I don't like to broadcast what I do. It's not for clouds. If it's to help people come together, I will say yes, but not, oh, I did this, I did that. I mean, to each his own. So I raised some money, my own personal donation. There were 3 categories: indigent women in marriage, single and widowed women, single women, widowed women, and then women with disabilities who are most often, almost always overlooked in any situation. Going to the bank, there's no ramp for someone with a disability to be able to wheel their wheelchair. How much more a woman who is disabled in a marriage? Then, of course, we know the widow who practices. We know how they look at single mothers in this environment. And then, of course, indigent women who are the poor in a marriage. So those were the 3 categories that we decided to look at and to help them. And also, thankfully, Lubisi Fayemi, who is a strong advocate, for women, also chipped in. Hers was separate, but we raised that amount of money and gave at least 15K each to about 84 women or so. Yes, in those 3 categories.
That's interesting. So you talk about indigent women particularly, and then also women living with disabilities. And in reading about this, there are some factors that may exacerbate the situation these women find themselves in. It's not to say that those factors are excuses, but they are factors in this pandemic. And in some of the work and giving out, what are some of the stories the women shared with you? What's been happening with them?
Basically, they share with Project Alert. I mean, I trust her implicitly. She asked for people who could also nominate people who were in these situations, and then her team would verify or should reach out to other organizations to verify that really this is the situation with this person. And then also another criteria was that we would put out your details that you have received this money, because we need to be accountable to everyone who has donated. So if you don't want your name to appear on the list that you've received money, you're not going to get it, because we don't want one person going around to different places. There's so many needs out there, so we need to be sure that we've captured some, and then those who didn't get can go on to get other help from other places. So apart from Project Alert, I've also donated to Project ARC. I don't know if you've heard of Project ARC. They help with donations and all that. So I prefer to go through organizations because they have the data, they have the statistics, they have the structure, so that's basically it.
Okay, so I want to tell everybody that's watching, don't forget that we will be taking questions if you have any. So you can just send them in and send them to us. But I want to take a quick comment, and this goes a bit to preparedness. Kathleen is saying that I'm always concerned about our inability to get ahead of things. We know we didn't see COVID coming, but we can see its ramifications coming, especially mental illness and domestic violence. Now, we tend to be caught flat-footed on many things. We drag our feet, and even
reactive.
Exactly. And even in this country, domestic violence hasn't been a priority in totality for the Federation.
It's been a silent epidemic for as long as I've been a Nigerian.
Exactly. We might look at a few things that Lagos State is doing to really try to ramp it up, but we want them to do a lot.
Lagos State is the only one. Lagos State is the only one.
That's the problem. So now if you remove Lagos State out of it, that leaves you 35 states and the Federal Capital Territory, who many people feel have simply not been adequate. And that's pre-COVID-19. So what do we say about preparedness? And even after we have entered it, no one could have actually been prepared, at least let's give the world that. But in terms of stepping up and ramping up our reactions to it, what do we think is going on?
The lessons to be learned in this COVID-19 are so numerous that if we come out of this without preparedness for the things that we have seen happen, we have failed. We have failed like we have failed before, because this is a time for government. I keep saying government because individuals already do a lot themselves, private organizations. Government is the leader. Is the leading partner, let's say, because they partner with citizens, is the leading partner that will show the way. They will also bring across policies that will help us cope post-COVID and in this COVID. But we're not seeing that. At a point where they had a chance to, show this message and drive home the point that this virus is a killer, they bungled it. And no one is taking it serious. No one. People are thinking that it's for the rich, so we in the village were not going to get it. There's so many misconceptions about it. The narrative is not strong and powerful enough to reach everyone, and I'm talking of the villages. I'm not talking about we here on the island.
Urban center, yeah.
Exactly. I'm talking of the rural areas. They start praying, they cast and bind. No, we need to put in place protocols that will help us cope with post-COVID. We need to. We have no choice. I mean, oil has finished, so what next? Are we just going to sit down and fold our hands? We need to ramp up our brains. I mean, I was telling, sorry, I'm going off a bit off. I was telling someone that Nigeria is where I was educated, primary, secondary school, and university. That was when we took education important, when it was important to us to be able to have good schools and put money behind education, health, all those, and then maybe we should look at social welfare. Now, let's find a way to include it in what we're doing, because there's nothing like that at all. Maybe it's something we need to include in our policies going forward.
Okay, so let me let you know, because I was really reading about what other countries are doing. So in Australia, the family court has been hit with so many urgent applications now that they've actually been forced to establish a dedicated list, and they're going to have mobile courts that are going to help. What we also find is that for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of women, this lockdown could mean death or further harm. Now, a few weeks ago, the United Nations Secretary General called for a domestic violence ceasefire amid what he said was a horrifying global surge linked to the coronavirus lockdown. We've barely heard any politician, any government official, anyone in government even mention domestic violence, or what even happens to those who might need to immediately leave their homes. We know in France has actually spoken to hotels, and they have a secret number and some kind of setup where if the women go to pharmacies and tell them that they need help, they come and get them and their children and they take them to hotels, because some of the shelters have run into funding issues and staffing issues as well. We have other places as well doing things, but we have almost no comment. And it seems, yes, while resources are now focusing on COVID-19, many people don't understand how deadly the lockdown can be for women and children more than actually the virus. What do we think in terms of how we can I want to say force government, but it's difficult in our
So,
context to force government to do anything.
we're in a patriarchal nation. When we're having senators marrying children, how do you think they'll come up with things that will help in domestic violence? Even now in this administration, there are less women in parliament, in the House of Reps, less. So why would things of women be of any importance? It's still left to NGOs. It's still left to individuals to try to help. And that is why, as many of them that I know, when people reach out to me in my DMs, Project Alert, Miracle Center, Warif, but also these things cost money. So it comes back to individuals. It comes back to individuals to help. And government, apart from Lagos State, there is no other state I know. And there are first ladies in the state. Okay, Ekiti State, because Erelu Bisi Fayemi is there. And her husband is very supportive. Which other state? I can't. And the first ladies are there. That should be your priority. That should be your portfolio. I'm not saying forget about motherless babies. Include domestic violence and get your husband to sort of do something that will be akin to what Lagos State is doing. It's a patriarchal nation. So anything women, they say we want to take over. I don't know if you heard one senator one time say, if you give them chance, they'll take over. Take over what? It's not a tussle. It's not a tussle. And women will build a nation. Good women. Let me be specific. Good women. Because we have had some women in positions of power that they rubbished everything. That's the truth.
It's interesting you brought up.
We need to keep speaking out. We need to keep working. We need to get more people who are like-minded to be able to do this with us. We need a critical mass of like-minded organizations, women, private, anyone who is passionate about this to do something.
It's interesting you mentioned Parliament, the National Assembly. We've seen the trials and tribulations of the Gender and Equal Opportunity Bill. We saw what happened the first time. We saw what the sponsor was told to do, go back. And as you said, on the floor of the National Assembly, there were men who said that if this bill passes, their wives and daughters will take over. They fear that their wives and daughters might become prostitutes. So for us, even with the conversation around COVID-19 and domestic violence, it's subsumed in a larger conversation on how we treat women and girls, women and young children in our culture and our society. What are we doing? What do we need to do? Because I've also had conversations with individuals who say, we are raising the girl child, we're training the girl child, but many of these girls will still marry the boys that we're not bringing up to speed. So what do you think about that in the context of this conversation? Because some have said that the ramifications of the domestic violence situation now will be felt for a lifetime. But these are children who will grow up and look to marry other Nigerian men or other Nigerian women. And some of the things that they've seen in their houses during this time will form how they handle their own relationships.
We need to raise better boys to become men. Because when you've raised him, or when he's grown up as a man, he's not going to change his ways. It's going to be hard. You need to raise the boys in your homes. I mean, everything starts from the home. As they grow up, as they start, that's the seed. That's the fertilizer. That's the ground in which you place your seed. And that is where the boys grow up to be like, oh, are they kings? You leave them to play with the toys while the girl is washing plates in the kitchen. No, he should wash his plates. He should make his bed. He should cook. He should do everything the girl is doing. He should respect her. She should respect him. I mean, it's pari passu. How they say, side by side, side by side. And our churches too, religious organizations, traditions that hold us back in so many ways. You know, we still have female genital mutilation going on. Women do this. We have widow practices. Women do this. You know, so what are we saying? The men see this. It's the women they'll send to go and shave someone's head and put her in a dark room or drink water from a dead body. It's the women that they'll send to go and cut off someone's clitoris. No, that's why the men they are focused in what they're doing. But we women need to stick together and know that if my sister is in trouble, so am I. That's it.
I want to take us back to government. And while I know our expectations of governments, not just in Nigeria, but typically across the African continent, tend to be quite low. We still need to be very vocal in what we expect them to
Absolutely.
do and in demanding what they should do. So we can
Mhm.
agree that, yes, NGOs and individuals have really been stepping up when it comes to domestic violence and sexual violence and things. But at the end of the day, not just legislation, government has to fund shelters. They have to
Yes,
fund education. They have to make it easier and fast track these cases in courts.
yes,
Maybe they need
yes,
to, and we've seen it with Lagos State, set up special units within the police that handle
yeah,
these issues. Special police officers who are trained. I think a lot of us watch Law and Order Special Victims
yes.
Unit. Those
I
are
watched it
officers
was a special
specifically.
victims unit. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Those are police officers and some lawyers specifically trained to
Specifically
deal
dedicated.
with
Absolutely.
victims. So even
Mm.
if we do not believe government is yet capable or even doing that, let's speak it out. Kate, what do you expect of government in terms of what their responsibility should be in times like this as it concerns domestic violence?
I expect governments to put themselves, because they have families, in the places of their own women. If their women were the ones involved in this situation, you have wives, you have sisters, you have daughters. Now think of them in that situation that these women are in. And then you will see that it's not right and that you need to protect children and women. Children. I mean, 70%, 1 in 5 women are abused. Sexual violence, domestic violence. 70% of 155 cases that Project Alert carried out were women and children from the ages of 15 and 24, 0 and 17, 0. Tolu, a baby. We have seen video. See, I don't even want to start getting upset or angry. We have seen where toddlers are holding a man's member. Somebody posted it. We have seen rape. And then someone is telling me about, oh, dress decently. What does the baby wear? We need to take responsibility for every citizen, and more so women, because this society does not rate women, does not rate women. We need to see women as equals, as human beings. There was a line from one of the vagina monologues we did back then. It said, 4 people died in an accident. 4 people and 1 woman. Four. Are you here? Did you hear that line?
Yeah.
4 people died and 1 woman. Meaning a woman is not a human being. Yet she has so much responsibility in the home, in the workplace, in the society as a whole. We need to put a mirror in front of our men folk and tell them we're here. We can contribute our quota. Just let it be that we are human together. We need to keep sounding the alarm. We can't let up. I mean, every year, International Women's Day, there are different themes, equal and all of that. We need to keep pressing, keep pushing, keep talking about it. We can't be tired because the numbers are not encouraging at all. We've had this epidemic of domestic violence since whenever. So COVID now has added to it. The women have nowhere to run to. There's an increase. 7 cases that Project Alert would have in a week is now 25 in the first 10 days of the lockdown due to frustration and hunger. The women say they would rather die of the COVID than being beaten and hungry and everything. So there you go. That's it.
It's
That's the
interesting you
reality.
brought and a friend of mine shared an interesting article with me yesterday. And in terms of COVID-19, women in academia. So what's happening is that women in academia who are trying to get to professorship or tenureship level, they have not been able to write during this period because they're home and taking care of their kids. And what happens is a majority of them are married, and what their husbands are reporting is that they've never had such a great time being able to write. The husbands are able to sit down and focus and write, but the woman who's trying to be a professor or get to the tenure track, this same time has taken on even more work. She's taken on even more for herself. And it just seems that when you have a conversation and you sort of gender the issues of COVID-19, people ask you, why are you making it a gender issue? So do you think it is a gender issue? Should we emphasize on where the gender differences are and how COVID-19 is affecting people?
We should emphasize it because I mean the woman is expected to do so much. She's not given the same how do I say leeway for work lack of a better word, leeway to do what the man does. She has to be home. She has to take care of the children while the man has to, go online and do his professorship. But if there is a good man, and I know there are some good men out there, he will take turns with raising the children. He will take turns tidying baby on the back, walk around the estate or play with the children while the mother has her own turn. And I know there's some good men, but they're not enough. They're not enough. Even though the cases and the numbers would have dropped ever since. We have an increase in the numbers of domestic violence and sexual violence. We need the men folk. We're partners in this. We're partners. No one hates the other. No one. But in situations like this, the women always suffer more. The children always suffer more.
I'm going to put you on the spot. You're in Nollywood and you've seen some of the criticisms of Nollywood. There's the conversation of old Nollywood and new Nollywood, new movies coming out. But a lot of people think that whether it's art imitates life or life imitates art, that in one way or the other, using entertainment, movies, music, and I have to say even skits, as we see them now on social media, are part of the education or the re-education of our population. Do you think Nollywood is doing enough to sort of change the narrative? You'll watch a Yoruba movie, you'll watch a Nollywood movie, the husband will beat her or cheat on her, she'll go, family will send her back. Even in the movie, police will send her back home and say it's a domestic issue, she'll forgive him, and then they live happily ever after. How do we get... Because we can't expect a change overnight. Something like this is going to take 15, 20 years for us to see the difference, but the work starts now. So do you think Nollywood is doing its job and also changing this narrative?
Not enough. Not enough, because we have a huge platform. We have a huge platform to change narratives in the society. We need to do more. Now, also, what you will find is that the society as a whole, if you put this kind of stuff out there, unless you wrap it well, they're not going to want to receive it in that manner. They're not, hi, Josephine, thank you. They're not going to want to receive it in the raw manner it's about. So you have to craft it in a way that is acceptable. I don't think we're doing enough. I think we can do so much more as people, as entertainers, as people who have a huge platform to affect lives and drive home the point that domestic violence, sexual violence has no place in a normal society where we want people to reach their potential. We're not doing enough. It's all laughter, comedy, fashion. No, we need to go into the nitty-gritty. But will the society accept it when we present it to them? I mean, people are not going to make money from their films if they're doing domestic violence movies. But I believe that if we package it in such a way that it comes across as nice, so to speak, I think they will accept it.
Okay, and going from that now, because we'll be wrapping up, Titilola is standing by as well. A conversation, people have different ideas as to why they think there's a rise in domestic violence cases. And I'll just ask you, because some of it is opinion-based and some of it is, of course, research and fact-based. But in your estimation, especially here in the Nigerian context, why do you think we're seeing a rise in domestic violence cases?
Because there's a lockdown and people are locked in. They're locked in. So where are they going to go? I mean, they would normally maybe run to a friend. You can't go out. But a lockdown doesn't mean you should be locked in that situation. So it's a lockdown. But the good thing is you can still reach out to the domestic and sexual violence response team in Lagos. I emphasize in Lagos. And this was formed in 2012 under BRF. You can reach out to them. You can reach out to Project Alert. You can reach out to Mirable Center. And today, I think there was a conversation on Twitter where Project Alert was putting out numbers in about 12 centers across the nation that people can reach out to at this particular time, because things seem to get worse. Oh, things are worse. There's no work. The man is not working, or maybe the woman is not working. The children are hungry. They're all over the place. They're getting your nerves all riled up. So someone is going to want to hit out and, act out. So it's a precarious situation.
So now let's get back to the States before we wrap up. Lagos, we want them to do more, but they still are doing better than anyone else. that we've seen.
Absolutely.
What other
Yeah.
expectations? What do we expect other states to pick up? And for some people, they'll tell you that these issues are domestic, so they're not priority. They're not issues that are going to make it to the top of the governor's list or the governor's concerns, because they happen to be things that happen behind closed doors, that happen at home on the domestic scene. How do we encourage more states to follow the Lagos example and do more?
It's the matter that concerns a life. Now, if a life is being threatened, of course you're going to come in. Security is needed, justice is needed, counseling is needed. When a life is threatened, we need government to protect us, and that's why we expect them to follow the Lagos State model. Make it bigger, make it better. Yes, husband and wife will quarrel now. There are two people who are coming together to do, to try to live as one. But when there is violence that changes the dynamics of things, that's when you say no. Because if he was a governor or a president that had their daughter in that situation, wouldn't they help? Will they say, oh, go and stay with you? They would help. So think of that woman, that lady, that child as your own. Like I said, leadership needs humanity. That's the only way we can move forward. If you have a human heart, if you have a heart, if you are human, there's a difference between human and being human being, then you will care for the things that matter in the life of your citizens.
Okay. So as you said, you've worked with Project Alert. Let's list them again for some people listening. Those organizations, if it might be someone who's listening now who might find themselves in this situation, or someone who knows someone in this situation, who are the people that you say that they can reach out to?
Oh, they can reach out to Project Alert on Violence Against Women and Children. They're on IG and on Twitter. They can reach out to the Mirable Center. They're on IG and Twitter. They can reach out to WARIF. Even though WARIF does not, they take counseling. They don't keep people in. Project Alert has a shelter. Let me just put that in. We helped them raise funds in 2009, their 10th year anniversary. So, yeah, WARIF, Mirable Center, Project Alert, and then there's one other one. Hold on. That's, hold on, let me get the, yes, the WARDC, Women Advocate Research and Development Center. So that's 4. And if you go on the Twitter feed, or Rapper also in the North, I'm doing some work with them. All of these handles are on Twitter. You can send them a DM. You can reach out to them. Project Alert in their Twitter chat today put out 12 centers across the country where people can reach out if they're having situations. So that's is a lot. But remember, these NGOs, they need money. So the best we can do is support them, volunteer, money, resources, your time, anything you can do to make it easier for them to reach out and help other women who are not in the situation that you are is welcome.
Okay. I keep encouraging, we're taking questions, but there's this comment from Project Alert, whoever is tweeting for them, and said, from having to foot the logistics costs, starting from the police station to hiring a lawyer to court filing and services fees, how many women can afford this? And we know that economic abuse, using finances to abuse women and to keep them in place is a massive thing as well. And when many people say, why don't they leave? When you have 2 or 3 children and you're worried about putting a roof over their head, how you're going to feed them, how you're going to do the school fees, a lot of women will choose to stay where they are, so that is provided for. So also, how do we also deal with that aspect of financial abuse and economic abuse as well? That's a really vital point, because that's what keeps a lot of women in place.
I said, my sister was telling me just yesterday about how a friend of hers abroad couldn't buy petrol in her car because her husband always did it for her. And when he traveled, she was like, oh, what do I do? And that's one of the easiest things. I feel that women need to empower themselves. They need to work. They need to find something to do, because even those that have money that are in domestic violence situations, it's not that easy. It's not easy, because our society is very Mrs. bound, if you know what I mean. Member of responsibility. Mrs. is the height. So if you're not Mrs., you are nothing, okay? So they need to empower themselves. They need to empower their minds, for themselves and for their children. I mean, your husband is there, great guy and all that, but you also need to support him. And then when he's not there, you need to be able to carry the mantle for your home. So women need to try and hand work, do something, don't just sit around. And if you are sitting at home, save money. If they are giving you millions, 250 every month, every week, keep some money. Keep some money. I'm not saying so you run, because Project Alert, first thing is do counseling for both so that they sort out the friction, unless you say you want to go. It's not about breaking of marriages. Find your piggy bank. Women, you need a piggy bank. It's very, very important. I cannot emphasize it enough.
All right, so I want to finally wrap up with you talking to somebody out there who might be a survivor or who might right now be a victim in that situation. What would you say to them?
Oh, in a situation where there's domestic or sexual violence, one of the few signs is you're cut off from family, you're cut off from help, you're cut off from any support. You need to have the presence of mind to know that you are deserving of all the love. You are deserving of everything good in your life, and that you need people around you, good people. You need your family around you. You need your friends around you, good friends, not the one that will advise you wrong. Do you understand? So don't cut off people, because it will be like the boy who cried wolf. You keep crying. The day you need them, nobody's going to want to help you. And for those who are in the support system, please have patience with those who are in these situations, because it's not easy for them to just stand up and go. Apart from
nobody leaves the first time.
Exactly. There is emotional attachment to this man that you love or to this woman you love. And to be able to break away is not easy. I'm talking from experience. It's not easy. You don't want to be a failure. You don't want to be a failure in your marriage, in the society. So they don't know how to just hang around, just be there for them, just stay and say, I'm here. Whenever you need to talk, I'm here. Even if they cut you off, just keep their numbers and everything, and then get them help. We don't talk to people. We don't talk to professionals in this country. We feel it's a taboo. We need to talk. It helps.
All right, Kate, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for lending your voice over the years. I've seen a lot of tweets from Project Alert. They're very happy with you being an ambassador for the work that they do. They replied as well that on an average for one victim, you could start a case at 50,000 naira. So if you're out there and you want to donate, these are credible organizations that you can donate to who work with domestic violence and sexual violence victims. I did some stuff with Project Alert many years ago, and especially when they talk about the children that have been abused, you won't. I have goosebumps right now because I'm remembering one of the stories. There's just no way you will not feel something. So if you're looking for somewhere to donate money, if you've always wondered about a good work or charity that you can support, these NGOs are doing a fantastic job, and they could really use as much support as you can give them. Again, Kate Henshaw, thank you so much for being part of this and for your time. Very much appreciated, and we'll probably have more conversations in the future.
Happy
All right, have a great day. Happy lockdown. Yeah, cool lockdown. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if it's an extension, but we will all be standing by. Thank you. All right. Bye. Okay, guys. So again, if you have any questions, please don't forget that you can ask your questions using the question mark, I believe, there. But I want to also now go live with Titilola Vivour-Adeniyi. She is the coordinator of the Lagos State Domestic and Sexual Violence Response Team. And we're going to talk to her more on the resources side of the conversation as well. What they are doing, what responses they've seen in recent times, what can be done more. Hi, Titilola.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, we're doing this on behalf of EIE Nigeria. That is Enough is Enough. And this is their call of duty. You can join the conversation. The hashtag is #1person, #call of duty. Please don't forget, invite people and also ask them to follow at EIE Nigeria. They're doing a lot of great work, bringing forth a lot of conversation. Titilola, how is the lockdown?
I'm not really sure how to answer that question.
And I know you definitely would have still been working during the lockdown, but it'll just change the work a little bit.
Definitely, definitely.
Okay, so let's start with that. With the lockdown, you are really in the front lines of this conversation about COVID-19 and domestic violence. So how has the lockdown sort of affected or reshaped the work that the DSVRT is doing?
Okay, so it's amazing because we sort of anticipated that there will be an increase in reporting of domestic violence during the pandemic. And so
And you
we
have seen an
added,
increase, right?
oh, definitely. Pre-lockdown in the office, we attend to on average 8 new cases daily. But since the lockdown, we've started to get on average 13 new cases daily. These
Wow.
are telephone calls, messages via our DMs on social media, our web chat, and all of that. So on average, we see 13 new cases. Sometimes it goes up to 16, 17 new cases daily, and sometimes it goes down to 14 or 15. So yeah, so we've seen increase in
Go ahead.
reporting during this period. Yes.
I know some of your cases involve follow-up, going somewhere else neutral to meet the individuals or the victims and talk to them, but that's not possible right now. So how are you able to sort of assign case officers to the cases, follow up with the possible victims? Have you had to remove anybody from their home in this time?
Yeah, so we've taken all our services online. So we have our case officers that are providing support via the telephones. We're doing our online mediations where possible, if parties are still interested in remaining in the relationship and they need psychosocial support, or they just need government intervention in maintaining peace and order. We're doing online mediations. And then we have our case officers, as you said, do follow up. Okay, so you reported a case, and maybe the case had to be escalated to the police station. Have you been to the police station? Are you satisfied with the services that you received? Or, so basically we've just we've gone online. As
Okay.
much as possible, all we can do online, we're doing at the moment.
Okay. So you've talked about if it's someone who is a victim. What if I know someone who's a victim? Am I supposed to use the same reporting channels to also report someone possibly being a victim of sexual violence or domestic violence?
Definitely. Short code, *60#, and the short code allows, we call them mandated reporters in Lagos, so people that are reporting on behalf of others. And we've been seeing, even before the lockdown, we've been seeing increase of reporting from mandated reporters. As far as you can ensure that their identity is remains confidential and they can link the report to them, then they are more encouraged to report. And Lagosians are actually fantastic because they don't just report, they follow up. Lagos State said they are going to do this. Have you done this? This child is still there. You've not picked it up. So it's good. They put pressure on the system. And so, yeah, so we've been getting cases from neighbors, reporting, landladies, landlords, reporting incidents of domestic violence. But I just want to stress the fact that these cases that are coming, most of them that are coming during this period, it's not like as if there wasn't domestic violence pre-lockdown.
Yes.
The violence was already, survivors or victims were already experiencing domestic violence. But the lockdown has heightened or increased the perpetration of violence. Because there's this misconception that people feel that coronavirus, the lockdown, may be causing domestic violence. It's not necessarily so.
Okay, so let's talk about the causation or what has led to the exacerbation of it. What are some of the factors? Because from what the research I did was, they said that basically people being isolated and stuck in the same place together, lack of financial, interesting enough, I saw lack of access to alcohol was something that may exacerbate domestic violence situations. Then financial strain on families as well could also lead to domestic violence being perpetrated on children as well. So what are some of the causation? What are some of the factors we're seeing in play here?
Okay, so I think pre-COVID, post-COVID, during COVID, domestic violence is constant. What is constant? Yes. The key indicators: control and dominion. One party who is in a cohabiting relationship with another wants to control and dominate the other party. So they do it in different forms, be it physical, emotional, verbal, sexual, economic, stalking, harassment. There are different forms of domestic violence. So, but the idea really is to control and dominate somebody you're in a cohabiting relationship with. And so during the lockdown, it heightened because now you're literally stuck with the abuser. Before lockdown, people take advantage of going to the school, doing school runs, going to their offices, or looking forward to the abuser leaving the house to the office or to the business, to his office or her office, because females can actually perpetrate violence.
Yes.
But now they're stuck. They're literally stuck with the abuser. The whole to control and dominate you are in a cohabiting relationship.
Oh, your line is cracking up a bit. Okay, are you with me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Lagos State has the criminal conduct regulate public law. They also have the child's rights law. They have the protection against domestic violence law. They are heads and shoulders above many states in the country. And for many people, they're also a beacon of hope, especially with the establishment of the DSVRT, a beacon of hope in terms of the country's approach to domestic violence and sexual violence. And I know a lot of other states rightly get flack for not stepping it up. But in your time at the DSVRT, would you say it has been a success and that there is a necessity for other states to follow suit?
So I think if you look at the needs of a survivor, because at DSVRT we believe that we're survival centered. If we look at the needs of a survivor, there's no one agency that can provide all those services. For
all their needs.
A person that has been sexually abused would definitely need medical support, psychosocial support. The mother or the parents may be indigent, they may need empowerment. If the community has become aware of the situation, of course, that child will be further stigmatized. They may need to be relocated. They need police enforcement, designated police officers that are trained, that will treat these clients with the empathy that they deserve. There's no one organization that can provide all the support to this client or to this survivor. And that's why the need for us to work together, leverage. If you're not providing service, the right type of services that clients or survivors of sexual and gender-based violence need and deserve. And so that's why DSVRT is, I think it's essential, because you have key responders come under one umbrella, respond collectively as one voice to the issues of domestic and sexual violence. So if you come to my office now in Alausa Secretariat, once a client comes in, the whole response system is activated. You know the referral pathway is laid. You know what to do. You know where to go to. The different services are readily accessible to you. It's left to you to pick or choose. As opposed to you go to one particular responder agency, you don't know what's next. You don't know where else you should go to. You don't even know what is available to you to take advantage of. And so we're very encouraged that some other states are actually replicating the DSVRT. We have something similar in FCT. I think we have something similar in Kaduna. There are some other states. Oyo State has an SGB response team. Theirs. It's encouraging to see other states replicate what we have in Lagos.
You mentioned earlier mandated reporters. Now, I have an idea, because this is not the first time I've had a conversation with you on the work the DSVRT does. But I think let's also use this as an opportunity to educate those who might be joining us. Who are mandated reporters, and what are they exactly mandated to do?
We are all mandated reporters. You're a mandated reporter, I'm a mandated reporter. But especially for people that have dealings with children. So anybody that has interface or interaction with children, anybody, is mandated to report actual or suspected child abuse. And there's actually legislative enactment for this, backing this up. We have the Sex Offenders and the Mandated Reporting Executive Order that was signed on the 1st of December 2014 that mandates all child-centered institutions officers to report actual or suspected child abuse cases. So we're not saying go as you now, Tolu, as a resident of Lagos. We're not saying you go and conduct interviews. No. You see something, you say something, you do something.